It's been a minute. I've been gone. I had jury duty. I messed around and hurt my wrist too. So, ah, anyway, this son of a gun is painful. But hey, if you're coming on today, we're going to talk about the altar. The altar, one of the most sacred things in history. And I say that because we hear about the altar a lot. Peace, Jonathan and G. Welcome aboard, and everybody who's coming on. I want to say welcome to you. It's been about 5 days since I've been on here, so I'm good for this one. This is going to deal with the altar. Now, if you have looked at anything I posted here recently, one thing I dealt with is I took a picture of my altar, my own personal altar. And I'm quite sure people are wondering, an altar? What is he talking about? An altar? What's so special about it? And I know I've seen people as an individual that you should look into it. I really think that. I really think that would probably change your thoughts about an altar and what it is and what it's meant to be. So tonight we're going to be discussing that. I hope that as always you get something out of the subject, and I'm hoping that it will awaken you, that it will touch you in such a way that you will go yourself and do the same and experience that which I experienced on my first, after I got through setting everything up. I'm going to share that with you today. And then we're going to even talk about the Masonic altar and what is that all about. And we're going to talk about the Christian altar and the Catholic altars. Altars is today's subject. So if you want to get in, will you fit in that? Certainly you're welcome to come on in. And I'm even going to talk about the Eastern Star has an altar. We're going to talk about the significance of the altar and what it really means, because a lot of us have the altars in the Masonic order, whether you be the Elks, whether you be the Eagles, whether it be the Masonic order, the Eastern Star, even there's several other orders I'm thinking of that has the altar. And I would say to anybody, when you're dealing with an altar, you should understand, why is there one here? What is the use of an altar? And so tonight we're going to be talking about that. I have Brother Larry. Larry is trying to come on. Are you coming on to be on the show, brother?
Yeah.
I tell you what. I tell you what. Give me just a second. Let me kind of get things situated. I need to give a definition of it, and you can call right back. How about that?
All right.
All right. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's Brother Larry. He's trying to come on to be on the show tonight. I want to thank him for peeping in on me. But we gonna get this in, because I put a picture up of my Masonic altar, and I had a couple of questions that people were asking me. And one of the questions that was asked was from a young lady. And she goes on the stage. She says, "Hi, I'm not familiar with the altar. Please, this is no disrespect. I know what our ancestors or spirits is either. I always thought that spirits has something to do with being drunk, because every time I ride past a bar, it says beer, wine, and spirits. Social media beats me up. These are just my opinion, personally opinion. I think religions and societies and culture, etc., is a form of slavery or young children mind. Things like follow the leader, everyone has to be like-minded, is a system of things I certainly don't understand. I do apologize for my ignorance on altars. I do appreciate your research and videos. I want to say thank you very much. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this particular show tonight, is to get involved with the altar and what it's all about. And I think a lot of us should really take and consider the Masonic altar and what it is and it is not. And I guarantee you that when you do, you're going to view things a little bit differently than you have in the past, because knowing more about the Masonic altar and what it represents can really, I would say, enlighten a person, wake them up, or shake them up. But it's going to be up to you when you get there. It's going to be totally up to you. So let's look at this thing we call an altar, especially dealing with Christians. Okay, it says that the table is a Christian church. The altar and the table is a Christian church, which bears wine and concentration and communion service. Okay, table, a flat table block used as the focus of a religious ritual, especially for making sacrifices or offering to deity. Let's check this out. So you have heard me often say about those who become Christians, you are being initiated. And some may say, lost your mind, as I said before, but I'm going to tell you, no, I'm not losing my mind. When you become a Christian, you are initiated into Christianity. And I'm going to show it to you. Even from scripture, you can go back and read it for yourself and know that you have been initiated into that organization, that system, that organization. You have been initiated into it. So the process, I'm from the South. So in the earlier days of being from the South, I'm speaking of my days, being from the South, we used to have what you call fall and spring revival. Now, I don't know if they still have it or not, but I do know when I was coming up, they had a thing called fall and spring revival. Follow me if you will. So, in the Masonic order, we have St. John's Day and St. John's the Evangelist. One is in the fall, one is in the spring. Now, you may ask yourself, well, why do we have these special occasions? I'm just trying to wrap this up and give it to you in a bow light. So you have, like I said, fall and spring revival, right? And so you also have in the African American churches, you have a thing called the mourner's bench, right? So when I was coming up, the mourner's bench was a place that you go. It would be set off to the side, and some churches would have it in front of the church. But you would go off, and what you would do, you would sit there for a week or a few days, depends on how long the revival is, and reflect upon your life and how you plan to make it better, how you plan to make it, and how you plan to give it over to deity, God, Jesus, how you plan to make yourself better in this life. That is the uniqueness of the mourner's bench, and this is what you get with the fall and spring revival. Masons have a St. John's Day, the Evangelist, and the other St. John. One is winter, one is in the springtime. Okay, so follow me if you will just for a second. So in both incidents, no matter what organization, be it the organization, be it the Masonic order or any of those, they all have an altar. And upon their altar, all of them have a sacred book. Okay, all of them have a sacred book. In the Masonic order, we call that book the VSL. The VSL. And for those of you who have been initiated in the craft, you know exactly what that means. Okay? Now, upon these particular books that you may find at the various altars of all social organizations, you then proceed to take an oath or an obligation. Now dig this. When you become a Christian, if you have already been initiated a Christian, they say that you're coming to join this new church, that you're coming because of your Christian experience, so therefore you need not to be baptized. And in the baptism, I'm going to get to that too. So they said, all right, so you're just coming under your Christian experience, right? I mean, somebody can help me out now. Help me out. If you want to call in tonight, you're certainly welcome to do so. And I forgot to tell my main man, Brother Jackson, that I was coming on tonight. He's my administrator. He usually put little things up for me. But if you want to call in tonight, you can call in 619-985-1184. And I'm quite sure Brother Lowry, he's going to be calling in just a couple of minutes here. But I want to get this in to show you in regards to the importance of an altar. The importance of an altar. This is an ancient customs. Altars are ancient customs, and they're used for sacrifices. Those are the ancient, that is a particular ancient custom of an altar is for sacrifices. And some of you may be saying he had lost his mind. No, I have not. I've looked it up. I've done my own reading, and that is the conclusion I've come to based on the information at hand for me. Now, if you got something that you would like to share with me, you're certainly welcome to do so by calling in 619-985-1184. Please, brother. Peace, brother Martin. What is the topic on tonight? The alt side. See it, the altar. Concerning the three great lights, or just the altar general. I had the VSL being mentioned. Yes, you did hear the VSL being mentioned, but the reason I said the VSL is because in all social organizations, there is a VSL present. Be it the Greek fraternities, be it the Odd Fellows, be it the Glorious Temples, be it any organization that you are going to become a member of, you would, except for probably the Toastmasters, you will find an altar, you will find the VSL. For those who have been initiated into this organization, you know exactly what I'm saying when I mention VSL. So, I say that to say this. When you become a Christian, as I said before, you get initiated into Christianity. You certainly do. Now, if you choose to move your membership, you go to another church and they accept you upon your previous experience at another church. So they don't go back through the baptism process. Now, if you are a part of the Holy Ghost church per se, there may be a process you would have to go through. But if you are Baptist, missionary, or just Baptist, progressive, or if you are Methodist or Presbyterian, they would then say that you will come upon you coming with your Christian experience. Hear me clearly. This is an initiation process. You can look this up for yourself. Now, upon this altar, you will find the body, and you will find bread, which represents the body, and you will find wine or a juice, which represents blood. It is a sacrifice. Hear me clearly. It is a sacrifice that you are partaking in. So when people talk about voodoo or voodoo and how spooky it is, you think about every first Sunday of the year when you are in church and you're breaking the bread, which represents the body of Christ, and you're drinking the wine, which represents his blood. That is a representation of a sacrifice you are now participating in. Did you ever think about that? I just want you to just think for a moment. Now, as we move on, upon the altars, you have candles that are burning. And why do you believe that you have candles that are burning? In most churches, they are white candles which are burning. Most lodges are white candles. Most Greek fraternities have white candles. Some may have purple, some may have gold. It just depends. But anyway, and some may have black. Now, I just need for you to think for a moment. Even in the OES, in its altar, okay, you look down, there should, at the foot of the altar, be a 5-pointed star. It should be. It should be. I'm just saying. Think about that. So, all the great leaders that we read about in scriptures have gone through an initiation process. Every last one of them have gone before the altar. All of them. There is not one that has not gone through the altar or through an initiation. If you will read the Old and New Testament, it tells you about Moses and his initiation rites in the Pharaoh mystical schools. It tells you that. It tells you about Christ and how he went into the wilderness for 40 days. But it doesn't tell you exactly what happens unless you get the apocryphes of the Bible, which we some call the other books of the Bible that were left out of the 66 books. And therefore, you will find a glimpse of what actually took place during those missing time periods of his rites, where he went out into the wilderness, or some may say the desert, and he was initiated into the priesthood of Melchizedek. I'm just saying, this is something you have to go search on your own. I'm throwing it out there so you can definitely go do it, so you won't be saying this guy is talking out of his mind. I'm not. And if you want to call into the show tonight, that number again is going to be 619-985-1184. So you're definitely welcome to call in tonight. We're going to get it in tonight. We're going to get it in tonight. So I want to definitely welcome you aboard as we view this thing we call Freemasonry, as we view this thing that we look at as for the Masonic altars or altars period in Masonry, because I think that, you know, when we do these things and say these obligations, we should really think about what we're saying and how we're saying it, because I don't think most of us understand it. Now, with that being said, what I'm going to do is talk about hold on just a second. What I'm going to do is talk about I got feedback. So when I'm talking to you, I'm going to talk about my altar, because that's the picture that you see when you're coming on tonight. My altar. I have my own altar. My altar, as you can see with I have 3 candles. I have one that's short and I have 2 tall candles. I have incense that burns. And I do sacrifices at my altar, but they're not a sacrifice as far as you may think, death or anything like that. The sacrifices is that of my offerings. My offerings are my sacrifices that I share with my ancestors. My altar is based upon those who've gone before me, and I stand on their backs. Okay? My ancestors, my mother-in-law, my great-great-grandmother, my father, my uncles, my aunts, those who've gone before me. So when you look at that picture that I have, those are the individuals whose back I stand on in my bloodline. And that is my way of communicating with them when I go before quiet time and I have that conversation. I talk with them. Now you may say, Hawkins, you have lost your mind. You talk to them? Yeah, don't you talk to Jesus? Don't you tell him all about it? Most of you have never met Jesus. You tell him all about it. I've met my uncles. I have met my my aunts, my father, my mother-in-law. I met these individuals. I've had conversation with them, and now they have transcended. Their energy still remains with me. Their energy still remains here with the family. So this is our way of communicating. This is our way of sharing our continual life experience with our ancestors. Okay? And the unique thing is, when I first cleaned it, set it up, just got it done, man. It was I'm trying to find words that will express the feeling and emotions that I had and still have when I'm there. It is like being in the presence. There you go. It is being in their presence. When I'm at that altar, I'm in the presence of those who've gone before me. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, my father, my uncles, my aunts. I'm in their presence when I'm at that altar. So that's what I'm talking about. The Baptist doctrines vote in members as well. Well, you're right. They do vote as members as well. Doesn't it remind you of the Masonic order? They vote members as well. I mean, we can throw this thing up any way we want to, but the ideal of having an altar is really to bring yourself before something that is bigger than you. You're called to be humble at the altar. You are called to really take a look back and to step back when you're at that altar. And just as it is at any altar, you're going to reflect. You're going to reflect on how can I become better. You know, you're going to reflect on your daily journey, your life journey when you're at the altar. And so my experience when I got done with my altar, it was a wow moment. It was like, I felt the presence of those whose pictures I put up on the wall. I felt their presence. Okay, it is something that is unique to those who understand what I'm talking about. You know, um, and in doing that, I realized this is my way of continuing on that relationship with them, because you have a personal relationship with Christ, right? You believe that Christ rose and from the dead, right? You believe all that. This is my Christian brothers and sisters I'm talking to. This is where you're at when you're talking in regards to Christ being your Lord and Savior. I have no crumbs with that. I don't. For me, I talk with my ancestors. I believe my ancestors are my angels. They watch over me. They keep me safe. I invoke my ancestors because it is their blood that runs through me. It is their DNA that runs through me. So when I go before that altar, this is who I'm communion with. I'm in communion with my ancestors. I bring bread. I bring that of wine. And I have a communion with my ancestors at my altar, just as one would do in church. So as we begin to talk about the altar tonight, I just want you to reflect upon those things that you say at the altar, be it as a Christian or whatever your religious preference is. Just think about the things that you say when you're at the altar. Just think for a moment. I want my sisters to think for a moment, because even at the altar of the Order of the Eastern Star, you look down and you see the 5-pointed star with the various colors. See, colors mean things. And if you are a member of the order, you understand the purity and the significance of the color, because they really mean something. And especially if you're into chakras, I'm just saying, people, you got to look at this from a whole nother perspective. See, Masonry in the Order of the Eastern Star and some of the other social organizations that we are a part of, whatever you want to, however you want to look at it, and including the Memphis Rites, Memphis Mizraim, and all those higher degrees, if you want to indulge yourself in them, you're going to find out some things that you're going to be at an aha moment about. Because the things that we do and the Masonic Order has been around for years and years, over hundreds of years. I believe, from what I'm finding out for myself, we have a watered down connection with the Order of Freemasonry, as we call it today. It is definitely watered down. We don't really get the essentials of Freemasonry. We have an idea based upon a European style of Freemasonry, but when you go back and you check things off for yourself, you would then see something differently for yourself in regards to the Masonic Order. I dare to say that if you chose to go do your own research upon the Masonic Order, and you have already been initiated, passed, and raised, even the Eastern Star work, you will find some things in there that will make you shake your head. But most of you won't do that. Most of you won't do that because you are afraid. You are afraid of that which you may find. Now, as a member of this great fraternal order, we say we are always in search of that which is lost. Man should always be in search. So what are you in search of? You know, this is something you have to ask yourself. You have to ask yourself, what are you in search of? 24/7, 365 days. All right. Illuminated light. Welcome to the show, brother. Where you been? All right. In the Hebrew Bible, the word altar, the word for altar is mitzvah. I don't want to mess that word up. I'm not going to even do it. Which means a place of slaughter and sacrifice. Absolutely. And it means the same thing in the Bible too. Exodus 20 and 24. Masonically, we are born again at the altar to symbolize a sacrifice of self. The same thing you could say for those who are brothers in Christ or sisters in Christ. It is the same idea. The only thing that separates the Masonic order and Christians, or those of the religious partakers, is that in the Masonic order we say, look, it's not even about your religious belief. This is what we say. All right. As far as I know of, and I've been around for a minute, it's not about your religious belief. It's not. And that is what separates Masonry from any other organization. But like I said before, we have a watered down Masonic organization right now. It's watered down. It's nothing like it once was. Because if we know anything about the days of old, the ancient customs of Freemasonry, it took a person a very long time to become a Master Mason. A very long time. And now people become a Master Mason overnight. They don't partake in the true essence of Freemasonry. They don't. They have classes now. You can in a month you can be a Master Mason in a month. You don't really get the essential things that you're going to need and understand the craft for which you're a part of. So this is what makes Masonry as we know it today a watered down system. Now, when I talk about the system of Freemason, it is different from any other system there is around today. It is. It's just different. It's different because it doesn't matter about your religious belief, as I said before. But what matters is your progress or your progression as far as growth is concerned. Where do you go from here? Because once you have reflected in the anteroom and you've come out into the darkness, and then you're brought to light. In the process of being brought to light, you discover something new. And that is the uniqueness of Freemasonry. And that is what I really enjoy about it. So, let's just take for a moment and let's consider this. Now, right or wrong, your very existence as a Mason hang on the obedience to the power in the immediate set above. So, in other words, your existence as a Mason, your total existence as a Mason, right or wrong, okay, hangs upon the obedience to the power that sets above you. And what power sits above you? What power as a Mason sits above you? And don't tell me you're Grand Master. I'm just saying. The ancients can give you energy from the other side. Protectors in abundance, love. Oh, woo! Jennifer, welcome aboard. I appreciate you coming on. This is how I have always thought since I can remember. Right on my Mississippi brother. Oh yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. So as we begin our journey in this thing we call Freemasonry, in this whole journey, your existence of being a Mason sets upon the fact that you're willing to humble yourself to the power that sits above you. Think about that for a moment, because some of you missed that. And you missed that because when you come into this thing we call the Masons and the Eastern Stars, you more so tend that it's like a party thing, a social thing. I'm going to get to know somebody, somebody's going to get to know me, blah, blah, blah. But you don't go any further than that. So to me, you're missing out on the essence of what it really is and what it truly can be. You know, and this can become spooky to some people. I'm going to share this with you. See, as Christians, we are taught that you can't go to God unless you go through the Son. The Son being that of Jesus Christ. Now imagine this here. Every picture that you see, and you can Google it for yourself or YouTube it for yourself, 98% of every picture that you see of this man named Jesus is a Caucasian figure. You can say whatever you want to say, but every picture you see of Christ, the man, is a Caucasian picture with a sun behind it. Now, there's two ways this sun is being used in that picture. The Son of Man and the Son of Life. Now, and I say that because when you look at the Son of Man, you're looking at a man that comes from womb man, the womb of a woman. Okay, she's the only thing that's walking this earth that is close enough to God. Okay? You have goddess and you have a god. You have energy. All right? And when that energy comes together, this is what it creates. Now, when you understand that, you think about son of man, and then you think about son, because those words are interchangeable in scripture at times. Now, when it says that you cannot get to the Father unless you go through the Son, just think about that big ball of fire that sits in the sky. Without that Son, the S-U-N, there is no life. Period. This planet doesn't exist without that Son. You can say whatever you want to say. You can pray until you can't pray no more, until you out of breath. But without that ball of fire up there, you have no life. Period. Stop. Don't go. That's it. Now, if you don't believe so, that's on you. Those are just the facts. Now, we who have been taught Christianity, we've been taught that voodoo or voodoo is that witchcraft. It's that we've been taught that. Now, in the days of slavery, and I say that because when the master got sick, he called for the witch doctor. Y'all need to talk back to me. Like right now, he called for the witch doctor. Why did he call for the witch doctor? Because we as a people understood roots, the minerals, the earth. We understood that. We understood how it can heal the body. We understood that certain chemicals that are mixed with roots and things like that can give you an hallucinating, that can have you to take an out of body experience. So therefore, this is what you get a lot of times. Now, and I'm gonna break this back to you. So you may say, well, they're crazy. You know, we see them walking around shaking, they're crazy. But isn't it the same thing you do when you say you're full of the Holy Spirit, of the Holy Ghost? Don't you run around church? Don't you jump up and down? And some may even turn flips and you dance with this thing you call the Holy Spirit, or the Holy Ghost dance? Don't you do the same thing? Well, you may say, well, that's different, Hawkins. Well, how is that different from anything that those ancestors was doing when they was practicing voodoo? Some say voodoo. How is that any different? You say, well, I speak in tongues. Well, according to scripture, if you do that, then someone should be there to interpret that what you say. And then if you're not, then you are a false prophet. Now, those who practice voodoo, they speak in other languages. And that's what tongues are, language, right? And they cast spells, right? Your words cast spells. This is how this whole thing began. In the beginning, God said. Your words create everything around you. Everything. Your whole existence is based upon the words, your energy that you put out. But some of us don't get it because of what we're so locked into what we've been taught, and we don't want to go do our own research and find out for ourselves. So we're hell bent. Nope, I'm not reading that. I'm only going to read the Bible. That's it. Hallelujah. This is the truth. Your existence in life is in accordance with your higher power. All right, Brian, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Greetings, brothers. Welcome aboard, everybody. Jonathan G., I see that you retracted a message here. You said, all right, is the gray is gay in the picture. Oh my goodness. Look at you. All right. So, okay. Information common. Man, kindle, energy is natural within every. It is. Energy is natural within everyone. See, you ever been around people and they get to talking to you, and when they leave, you feel drained? They'll suck you dry. We're all walking energy. You know, working in the medical field, If you have a heart attack, we put the paddles together. We rub them. Boom. Clear. We pop you real good and your whole body come off the table. Poof. Then you go back down. Because of the electrons that goes and flows through your body. This is the thing we have to remember. When our ancestors or those who die and go on, man, they ain't worried about you no more. They have transcended. Be it good, bad, or different. You say, well, he was a hell maker here. Yeah, because he lived in hell right here. That guy that was a hell maker, he created his own hell. That female, she created her own hell. As a matter of fact, most of us are living in our own hell because we have not yet understand or really began to process what it is to be actually free. Because let me tell you this, if you're not willing to let go, you're not willing to be free. And I say that because most of us like to hold on to a whole lot of, we hold on to it. You like to remember when. And there's nothing wrong with remembering when. But to remember when and to bring that energy with you is not a good thing. Unless that energy is going to catapult you to move forward. And this is why a lot of us are financially stuck in our own situation. That's true. We create our own financial hell. You know, so when you begin to release the energy that can create and help you build, you're going to be well on your way. If you're willing to do that. Most of us are too afraid to do it. We're too hell bent on trying to dig a hole for somebody else, and we're going to fall in that same hole. You know, I've learned that when I'm able to lift up the next man or next woman, when I'm able to give them a helping hand up and not a hand out, then they're able to do the same. Each one teach one. See, but when you're not in that frame of mind, it's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to move forward. A lot of us may have some great things in life, be it money, be it health, be it a nice house or whatever, you know. However, to take that and to use it in such a way that you may actually bring somebody else up is the greatest thing you can do for your human race, for the human race. It's the greatest thing you can do. But most of us will never get to that level because we like to hoard stuff. See, this is why in the what I've learned in the when I go to the mosque, they pray with their hands open. You know, it's open. See, and I've learned that the reason that was given to me, and I understand at this time, is because how can I receive or give anything when I got my hands down or when I got my fists balled up? I can't give anything if my hands are balled up tight. I only hold on. But if I have my hands open, I'm able to give and receive. This is the mission in life, to give and to receive, right? And you can do this to keep people away. You don't want everybody in your circle. I'm just saying. But what we do with that, well, it's what we do with it, you know? You know, if you keep finding yourself in this circle all the time, you're going back to the same thing all the time, it's you. You need to check you. You need to see what's going on around you. But most of us don't do it. You know, this is why it's very important to keep that circle small. And I tell you why. Because for most of us who are Christians, we see Christ as the example, right? And I'm going to use him just for a minute. Now, what you do with that, Christ had 12, well, it was actually 13 disciples, right? So he had those disciples, but there was just a few that he actually really hung with. And as you begin to read even in scriptures, there was over 100 disciples. But like I said, there was just a few meaning 3 that he actually really hung with. See, because when those disciples went off and he told them, look, I'm going to stay here. Y'all go off in the water and do some fishing or whatever. Handle that. I'm gonna stay here on the bench, on the beach, and I'm going to do some meditation real quick. Meditation, that's another thing we got to talk about. So as he began to make his journey out on the water, and they saw him walking on the water, then what did Peter say? Hey, if it be you, allow me to do the same thing. And when he was able to do the same thing, he stepped out, he felt the wind blow. And in the process, he felt that he was drowning, and he asked God, the Jesus man, to save him. And he did. He reached down and brought him up. Catch that on your way home. He reached down and brought him up. I'm just saying. So it's just some things that we should think about. And this is why I have my own altar, going back to my altar, because it is those ancestors whose blood runs through my vein. And if I'm correct, it says that I'm made in the image of God. And being made in the image of God, then I have God's DNA. That means that I'm a child of God, and I'm able to create those things that I so desire in life. But y'all is too scared to do it. You're too scared to do it. There's nothing wrong with being a creator, because that's what you are meant to be. You are meant to be a creator, sisters and brothers. But you are so afraid of who you really are till it scares you to death. You can't not walk in fear. Psalms 23 says, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for your rod and thy staff that comfort me. You need to take hold of that. That whole Bible is symbolism, allegories, and stories. Take it, learn from it, and use it to build and to work through this rock that we're on. Okay, we are traveling to a place where no man has returned. Absolutely, we are. If you don't think that you are traveling, wait till you transcend. You wait. And here's the kicker part. Some people transcend and come back. And they say, well, I saw or I seen my ancestors. I seen my great-grandmother. I seen these people. That's what they say. They say, I seen this bright light and I was going through this tunnel, blah, blah, blah. And then there are some people, they say, well, you know what? I saw smoke and fire. Why do you think you seen smoke and fire? Because you create hell. You create hell. Because you don't know how to take your energy and create life. There's a story in the Bible that talks about Christ and Satan having a conversation. You know, check this out. God and Satan is having a conversation. Satan says, what's up, God? God said, nothing much. Why are you in heaven going to and fro? Y'all need to check this out. So he said, well, you know what? I seen your boy Job. You know, your boy Job, I seen that he likes to praise you. He likes to he lifts you up. He said, yeah, that's my boy right there. He said, well, I tell you what, let's take a bet. God and Satan is taking a bet on Job. And they said, well, okay, what's the bet? I tell you what. I can make Job curse you. What? I tell you what. You can do anything you want to do to Job, but don't touch his spirit. Why not his spirit? I just want you to think for a moment. Why not Job's spirit? You can touch him. You can do anything you want to Job, but don't touch his spirit. You know why you don't touch the spirit? The spirit lives forever. It's energy. It goes back to the creator. You don't touch nothing that the creator made. You can't touch the spirit. You can touch this flesh. But he tells him that. I just want you to think about it for a moment. Because as the brother just posted, we're all traveling upon the level of time to which, what he says back here, he says, we are traveling to a place where no man has returned. All right? So, the process is when after they have the conversation, Satan goes to work, right? He does a whole lot of stuff to Job, right? Tears this man's life up. Even his best friend, even the priest come in. His best friend says, curse God and die, man. The priest come in and said, well, it must have been something you did. It's some sin you done, Job. You must have done something, Job. Including the man's wife comes in. Turn your back on him, man. Be done with this. You're suffering too much, Job. But we know the story of Job. He didn't give up. And upon him not giving up, he received that which he gave up. He received it back. Because he didn't curse God. Now, check this out. Now, according to that whole story, how is it that Satan goes to and from heaven and has a conversation with God? Since God can't stand anything that is evil in his presence, and he can't stand sin in his presence. I'm just saying you need to read the book and break it down a little bit better. I just want you to think about it. And this brings me right back into this thing I call the Freemasons and the Order of the Eastern Star and the altar. The fact is that an altar, which is used for sacrifices, that's what it's used for. Now, what are you sacrificing? When you bring your sins to the altar in the Baptist church, come bring all your sins to the altar, and and leave them right here at the cross. You know how they get down on Sundays, and you do that. Some of us take them right back with us. I'm just saying. But that's the uniqueness of having an altar, is because you can go in fellowship with your ancestors and talk to them. You can feel their presence, their surrounding you, their protection of you. Why is it that during slavery they didn't want you to practice any of your customs? Our ancestors, they denied our ancestors to practice any of their customs. It was forbidden. Because that's how we was able to transcend. That's how they was able to get through these hardships in life. But we've been sold a bag of goods. We've been given this thing that is called religion, and we can't take it. We can't. Most of us can't. We be like, we can't take it. But it is up to you as an individual. It is up to you as a person who wants to transcend, one who wants to get a better you're going to have to do your own. You're going to have to indulge yourself as a Mason, as an Eastern Star, into this great work to really understand the essence of it. Because like I said before, we've been given this watered down system of Freemasonry. Why do you think they burned all the books at Kemet? Why do you think that? And we know that they burned them, but we don't know exactly what they kept. So, if you want to give a call in tonight, you're certainly welcome to do so. That number is 619-985-1184 if you want to call in tonight. And you know what? Illuminated Light, if you're still on, I want you to call in, because I'm quite sure from what I know of you and about you, you can definitely add some flavor to the show tonight. And I'm definitely going to be looking for my young man, King, King Musa, to give me a call tonight. I'm quite sure he's out and about doing his thing, but definitely, he can definitely give me a call out tonight, and definitely let me know what his thoughts are. Because what happens is a lot of time we forget about this thing we call Freemasonry and what it's really all about. We really, really do. Hold on just a second as I do a little something here. Okay, give me a call to the show. Thank you. Yeah, so that's where we're at. So I hope, as always, that you're getting something out of this, because I want you to go and I want you to do your own research and read about the altar, the Masonic altar, the OES altar. Why do we have them? And understand the colors of the OES star point and their relation to the chakras and the energy that we all carry. Look at them. Look at those chakras and look at the colors of the OES. And what does it mean? Because stones have and carries energy. You know, some of us like charm bracelets. Charm bracelets. What is that thing behind the charm? Charms are usually there to cast curses upon a person. Charms. I'm going to give you this good luck charm. You know, so when you begin to break this, you got it. Man, I'm telling you, it gets deep. It's one of those moments where you have to drop breadcrumbs along the way when you begin to indulge yourself, because you're going to be like, God, what have I gotten myself into? But the beauty of it all is the mere fact that it gets you to look at this thing from a whole nother perspective. That's the beauty. Let's see. Greetings. What's up, Hardy? Jason, what's going on with you, brother? Big Coop, welcome aboard. Prayer however you want to pray. If it works for you, then it's correct. Hold on just a second. What's up, King?
How you doing? Greetings, Elder. Greetings.
Hey, bro, you know what? I had to bring you on tonight because we're talking about altars tonight.
Oh, yes. I love the altars.
Yeah, we're talking about altars, and most of us are afraid of altars.
Yes, most people are. I have I actually have an entire room in my house dedicated to altars.
Repeat that. You got a what in your room?
I have an entire room in my house that's dedicated to altars.
Really? A whole room?
Yeah. Well, we call it the spirit room. We have 3 primary altars in there. We have one big altar for our family and ancestors and stuff like that. Then we have 3 deity altars with different spirits on it.
Well, explain. Okay, so I just set up my own altar, which is dedicated to my ancestors.
Right.
Explain to me your altars.
So an altar is basically a structure that you utilize to put symbology on. So anytime a pastor or an imam or a kohan or a cantor or a rabbi stands in a place where there's books, scepters, badges of honor, a gavel. Even when you go into a courtroom, the judge's podium is technically an altar. You're standing before the altar of the judge, not before the bench of the judge. The bench is just a synonymous word that they use for altar. So like in some crafts, like in Boudan, the way that they build altars is slightly different than a way that they would build an altar in Ifa or Santeria Lukumi or Haitian voodoo or something like that. Each or Wiccan or Mason. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with the structure of the altar representing phallic symbol. It's always being raised, and then all the information that is placed on that altar is representative of the feminine aspect.
Mm-hmm.
The women being cultivators of information, and men being, the producers of the information.
Right.
And like we push it and produce it. Where women, they cultivate and gather.
Mm-hmm.
So the altar is representative of ourselves as well, because we utilize the altar to hold symbolic meaning for things that we're trying to use to represent us, what we stand for, and whatever it is we're coming to congregate under one accord, to be under. And that's why altars are in every structure, in every major business. Every bank has an altar. It's called a bank teller station.
Wow.
Altars are everywhere.
I didn't even look at it from that point of view.
Yeah. Your local grocery store. When you go to the counter to check in, that's an altar. That's why the currency or the exchange of energy via money and agreement, which is the agreement that you make on a spiritual level to say, I agree that I want to purchase this with this, and this is what we use to say this is an even exchange, the law of equal exchange. That's what we do. Magic or metaphysics is intertwined in everything we do, especially in the Western Hemisphere. Anybody that's coming out of French, English rule, got magic all through their culture. It's embedded in everything they do. Abracadabra, alakazam, it's all through them. It's all through them. Especially if you're talking about like the magic cube and stuff like that in Freemasonry, the 357. Any numbers that equal up to 15, etc. So all of that stuff, I learned a lot of that stuff too in Enochian magic, which came out in like the 1400s, which is contact with angels and demons. So, yeah, they utilize a very similar methodology that we utilize as we break the code of the magic cube.
But see, here's the thing: most of us don't understand the magic cube and the significance of the numbers that add up to 15, because there are several numbers that can add up to 15, but a lot of us don't understand. We don't dabble in that. We don't go that route. A lot of us are kind of spooked on that.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go back to this. Jason Williams, or Jai Williams, says Masonry accepts Christianity, but the Most High doesn't accept Masonry. He goes on to say, he said, take no oath in the Bible. Okay, now I'm going to break this down to you. If you take no oath, then why do you, as a person of the Christian faith, come before the altar and you clearly says, yes, I'm going to accept Christ as that's an oath, as my Lord and Savior. And here's what I will not and will do. This is what you say as a Christian. Then you go to classes as a Christian. You go to Sunday school as a Christian. You learn Christianity through being baptized and resurrected, buried and brought back. You go through a whole initiation process. So for you to tell me that it says take no oath and you do the very thing that it says not to do.
All right. And you take an oath anytime, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because anytime you deal with any form of religiosity, and there's many branches, the first thing you're going to have to deal with is people's different oaths. Like, for instance, my wife, her entire family is Jehovah's Witness elders. So they're all in opposition to what they call Christendom. So everything that is in Christendom to them is not wrong, but it's not right and exact. Therefore, the things that are flawed in it has to be corrected by the Jehovah's Witnesses themselves. And when you go into their fraction of Christianity, you take an oath to believe the way they do. When you're a Baptist, an Episcopalian, a Protestant, a Lutheran, a Catholic, they all take different, what they say in Islam, shahadas. You know, they take these declarations of profession by saying, look, I declare that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. That's a declaration. That's a shahada. That's just like if you're a Muslim, you're supposed to say, La ilaha alif lam ha. You know, there's no God but Allah. You know what I'm saying? Or the one, because, you know, it don't really say there's no God. It really says there is no one but
God.
You know, but God, or the one. There is no one but the one, or the ultimate.
Right.
Which what they would be saying. So the oaths that you take, like for instance, Sunni, Shia, Ahmadiyya, Akhwani, and Sufis. You have all of them claim to be Muslim. They all claim to accept the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a final messenger. But then they all have different degrees of the way they take their shahada. Like there's slight differences in each fraction shahada. They don't all say it the same way. So it's one of those things where, like, if you really into like religious doctrine and there are many fractions, you'll see how all of them have different oaths and declarations that they take to separate themselves from one another.
Okay. So I'm going to take a break for a second. If you are able to hit the like button, please do that. I would appreciate if you're able to hit the like button. It definitely helps to get this video out or get the word out about what we're all about. And definitely, if you have subscribed to the channel, I want to say thank you. We're at 2,000 subscribers, and it's because of you who come on and you subscribe to the channel. And I want to give you the best information I can give you. And then I want you to take this information and go do your own research, find out for your own self. See, a lot of time, Brother King Musa, we get caught up on what I would call irrelevant stuff. I used to get caught up in that. Where'd you come from? How long you been here? Who was here first? Who was here second? I I was that guy at one time. But as I began to read and began to see another phase in my growth in masonry, I was like, that was child's play. Now let's look at some real stuff. Let's get into the meat of Freemasonry and the Order of the Eastern Star because of the various rites. And this is the unique thing about Freemasonry. There are so many different rites of passage and initiations, not just in Freemasonry, but throughout the world. You know, when you consider people who go to these foreign countries and lands and they find out about these other rites of passages that one may consider doing, because that's what they are. Freemasonry to me, as I've come to understand it at this point in time in my journey, is a rites of passage.
Right.
And a lot of us can't grab that because we're too busy hanging out and doing some other things and not indulging ourselves in something that's going to help you and enlighten you on this rites of passage. And this is my conclusion at this time.
Yeah, I agree with you because that's why a lot of people don't really understand the significance or the relevancy of a lot of the degree work that we do in Freemasonry, because their fear doesn't allow them to view it spiritually or esoterically enough. Like Jesus said, when the eye is single, the whole body shall be filled with light. Like you unlocking the mind's eye or opening the mind's eye to have spiritual insight, to be able to see the purpose behind certain things and see symbiology behind everything, because our entire system is structured on allegories and symbolism. So if you're not able to understand the allegory or symbolism behind the tools, the methods, and some of the terminologies that we use in origin, outside of just saying, well, this is what I learned in my lodge, why are you not learning accurate Masonic history? I don't care what your lodge teaches. Why are you not being an upright Mason and learning things that help the mind grow? You just sitting here trying to, socialize. And that's why a lot of these guys are hindered and they're blocked. That's why you're such a unique elder, because you're constantly growing. You're constantly growing, and you don't have a problem saying, I don't know this, I didn't know that, I just learned this, and stuff like that. So it makes it a lot easier to transmute information when the people that you're trying to share the information with are willing and open to at least researching the information, not accepting it, but researching it, because it's only through their own research that they're gonna come to the conclusion if they want to accept it or not.
Well, I'm gonna look at something right quick, and I'm gonna need your help along the way. I'm gonna look at facts versus truth, because it is true that I have trash in my yard. It's also a fact, but if I don't get off my butt and move it, it's going to remain there, which is true. And the process is that a lot of us look at truth but don't consider the facts, because we're so hell bent on truth. Give me some facts, because my facts will show outweigh my truth. I don't know how many people can grab what I'm saying, but my facts, if I have facts, are going to outweigh some truth.
Yeah, like in my opinion, like you can always substitute reasoning and logic when you're dealing with truth. Like what is true, you can substitute that for your own logic, intelligence, and common sense and say, well, I accept that it's true, because you don't have enough proof to substantiate it as a fact. So you accept it as true. And
there you go.
With belief, people who don't know a thing have to believe it. So that's why my argument is never, about what people believe. My arguments only come in when people claim to know a thing. Now I want to know what you know. It's like a brother can't tell you he's a Mason and he knows this degree work or that degree work, because if you know too, now you're gonna challenge him.
Absolutely.
So that's the point. Like, this is supposed to be like that in my own personal perspective. That's how knowledge is expanded. It's not expanded by everybody being in agreement. It's expanded by people finding disagreements, and through those disagreements, they present certain information, and the information that's presented is either accepted as truth or it's accepted as fact. And on science distinguishes that by saying theory versus scientific fact.
Mm-hmm.
They'll tell you, this is a theory. This is what we believe to be true as of right now.
Right.
But it can change. But then there's things that they say, well, we've been studying this for 100 years or 1,000 years, and it's always been a rock. So this is a rock. This is a fact. That is a rock. No matter what language you put it in,
mm-hmm.
a rock has the same function in every culture.
Right.
So those are things that we substantiate as facts as opposed to truth.
My administrator is not on tonight, and I can't really do what I want to do in those comments in that chat room right there. That chat room was on fire there, bro. I have a gentleman that's in that chat room named Jay Williams, and he's causing some havoc. And I would say to those brothers who are in the chat room, you're going to have to just ignore what he's saying because it's really not benefiting the craft. But if Jay Williams really want to get involved, allow him to speak his words by coming on the show. See, this is something I do for those individuals or trolls who like to troll the show. Call in. You know you can do that. And we can have that conversation, but to upset the chat line and to cause disharmony within that chat line is something that I can't tolerate, and I may end up deleting or blocking you from the channel as a whole. So please, Jay Williams, if you want to call in, you can do that. That number is 619-985-1184. Okay? If not, then please cease with some of the rhetoric that you may have in the chat line. I appreciate that. Go ahead, there, brother Musa.
But yeah, that's yeah. It's like, I don't know. It's like one of those things, like whatever issue he has, you know, like I don't know. Like at the end of the day, I feel like people who are challenged by information and don't want to, surpass their own common knowledge, that's on them. You know, like they'll continue to remain redundant in their information, and they'll never be able to truly help the new Freemason that's coming in because they won't have anything to offer but a long time being around.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any information. It's just like people who refrain from drinking from a long time. Yeah, they haven't drank in a long time, but they still act like they did when they were getting drunk.
But see, I'm going to take you back on something. You know, when they say wine and spirits and things like that, see, the ancestors knew something about herbs and what they can do for the body. They understood what roots can do if you make them a tea and things like that. They understood the outer body experience, because you truly have those things when you get drunk. You have that outer body experience. And some people, what are you talking about, Brother Hawkins? They call it liquid courage. See, when you drink a lot, you say stuff that's really on your heart and on your mind. You say it because you're outside of yourself. You're not able to really control yourself. So that inner person, that spirit that's in you, says everything that you ever want to say to any and everybody. That's why they call liquor spirits. You got that spirit in you, huh? Yeah, because you that's that liquid courage. You said, and you don't have no fear about what you say. But when you are sober-minded, you tend to understand and reserve the spirit to be calm. You calm that spirit down. You maintain it, and you speak rational. But when you are not able to do that, you say whatever comes out of your mouth, and you don't care who it hurts. And that's why I often say that hurt people, because when you get that spirit in you, man, you tell your mama where she can go, and don't care.
He said, "I am a Christian. However, accepting Christ as the Son of God is not enough. In order to be considered a Christian, you have to profess, proclaim, declare, and bear oath." What do you mean? It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. You are pledging your allegiance to that person who they call Isos, Isa ben Miriam, Jesus the Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, whatever name you want to call him. He's still the same archetype energy that you are surrendering your logic to and your free will when you say or claim that you accept that which you cannot prove. That's exactly what you are doing. That's all you're doing. And in reality, we do it in the craft all the time when we step into new degrees. We usually take our oaths and our declarations for certain degree work before we even know what the degree work actually is.
We do.
So I don't know why they're trying to make it seem like what they do as Christians or Muslims or whatever is different. Religion is stipulated on declarations, oaths, and declarations, oaths, and proclamations. You have to be able to proclaim or profess what it is you believe.
I'm going to say this to Jay Williams because he got a pretty interesting comment. He says they call wine spirits because of the chemical change in your inner self to open up to demonic passions. Possession. That's not true. And let me tell you why it's not true. When you think of demons, you think of things that are evil, killings and murders. That's your thing. I would say this. When you drink that liquid courage, that wine, that yak, that the Johnny Walker brothers, when you drink that stuff, all they do is open up who you really are. And you come full blast with who you really are. If you don't like somebody, you're going to tell them to their face you don't like them.
Sure.
That's not demonic. That's just a fact. That's just you just showing me who you are. See, some people don't need that to do that, but some people do. People who have who drink, they do things that they wouldn't necessarily do because they have that courage. They have that super strength and ability to just don't even care. That's the difference. It is not demonic, but it's you. Your spirit is connected to other entities, and it's not just it is not that it is demonic.
Demonic, exactly.
You know, it's not that it's that. That's been you all along. But you have indulged yourself in these spirits or the liquor until you allow that which is in you to come out. That's all you did. It came out, and you couldn't put that genie back in the bottle. You know?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like a lot of people misappropriate the word demon. You know, because it's only a description, and the description is demon, which means wise spirit. And in some instances, it can even mean like, wise spirit or genius, or someone who has access to unknowable knowledge. Obviously, a demon would have access to unknowable knowledge because it exists on a plane in theory and concept that you don't. So, you know, of course, it's gonna have that. But like one of the things that people who really understand, like there's malignant spirits, like demons, the way that Christians portray them. But when you're dealing with like the demons, you're dealing with those wise spirits, and it was just a word that people used to say wise spirit or spirits of the unknowable. Unknowable is always referenced to as dark in ancient times. So when the Council of Nicaea was forming after Emperor Constantine formed that council, and the constitutions and the pathways was all being created, one of the things that they were trying to stand on was the demonization of the older cultures and using the words that they utilized to describe good things, and they took those words and made them negative in Latin. So the word demon, that's Greek, they use it in Latin to mean the same, like I said, genius, but in like around the 14th, 15th century, you start seeing the word change to something negative.
Well, isn't that what they do with all words for the most part?
Yeah, they change. They change over time.
And I like the way Malcolm broke it down, and also I think Ali did the same thing when he was talking about being blackballed and angel food cake versus devil
Oh
food
yeah,
cakes, and how
yeah,
he looked at that and he really broke that whole system down, the system that we're in today. And I really want people to consider, if you was born in the 70s, and I said this before, if you was born in the 70s, you was born under you was born in a time to where you had all of your freedoms and rights per se. Now, if you was born in the 60s and before that, you was limited in your freedoms and where you can go and what you can say. So we're only, as people of the African descent, have only been really so-called free for like 50 years.
yeah,
When people be talking, oh yeah, it's been 200 years. It ain't been no damn 200. You're looking at 50 years. My son is 30.
yeah. I'm 31. I tell people the
So
same thing.
it's
My
not
mom
that
good.
long ago that you've really been considered a free man. And if you look at it, and I know the subject is about altars, but I'm off on this because us get caught up in being slave captured to finances. A lot of us are hooked on that. We don't understand why we're so caught up, why we're always broke, why we don't never have, why we can't get, why we can't move. And this is where we're at in life sometimes. And we're frustrated with it. You know, I always say, try something new. Don't be afraid.
Yeah, that's why like like say try something new. One of the other things people got to take into consideration is like the importance of this paint, like the black and white floor. It's one of those things where it's like the dark and the light. The altar is like a marriage between the dark and the light. It's like saying, when I put these items on this altar, it's marrying them together. It's like putting a plug in the socket.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So
It's like that.
I have an illuminated light on the phone. Go ahead there, Freemason Unlocked. Talk to me. Did he hang up? Hold on. Hey, bro, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, bro?
Hold on just a second.
Hello?
Yeah, you still on?
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm trying to merge this call real quick. Give me just a second.
I think he is, man.
Okay, go for it. Okay, you got it. All right, what you got for me there, brother Illuminated Light?
Nah, it's a good show. Like, you covered a lot, man. You said a lot.
No, I think you got. Don't you have an altar?
Of course.
And
I think it's a good effort. Huh?
no, go ahead. I'm listening.
Nah, I think everything you said is wisdom. I'm enjoying it. What would I say other than what you said? You said a lot. Everything you said is pretty true. I thought about, I think it's Deuteronomy 27:5. The Bible. It talks about the altar and how, you know how you mentioned how the Bible is symbolic, allegory, symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say Deuteronomy 27:5.
Mm-hmm.
But it mentions how you shall build an altar to God, but you shall not use any iron tool upon it. Right?
Well, yeah.
And masonry, one of the seven liberal arts is astrology or astronomy.
Mm-hmm.
And in astrology, the metal iron represents a violent force.
Okay.
Like for the brothers that are mystical, like brother Jonathan G, any of the brothers that deal with masonry on the deep level. The Mars force in astrology is represented by the metal iron. It represents violence, violent energy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's telling us that you cannot build the altar to God with that type of energy. With negative energy, with violent energy. You have to have a subtle peacefulness in your mind state in order to build an altar to God. And as you stated throughout the show, the word altar in Hebrew, I mentioned it earlier in the comment section. It literally means a place of sacrifice.
Right.
That's the literal meaning in the Bible.
It is the literal meaning in the Bible. You said that was Deuteronomy what?
I want to say 27:5.
That's what
It has those numbers in it, 2, 7, and 5. Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Deuteronomy 27:5.
Yeah, so it's like, as you stated earlier, when we take the oath or obligation, rather, on the altar, we're making a sacrifice. The masonry, like we're sacrificing our lower selves to our higher selves.
Mm-hmm.
We need the light to be born again. So it's masonry is so deep, but yeah, everything you say, you covered a lot in the episode. You said a lot that, for me, I admire it because for me as a man, masonry has made me a better man for me.
Mm-hmm.
And you stay constant with it, like you're always doing the work of masonry, bro.
Well, I'm trying to. What I want to do and what I try to do is to make sure that any information I give out, that anybody can go back and check it out for themselves. The ideal is that most of us who are Masons don't indulge ourselves in such a thing. What we do is once we get initiated, passed, and raised, we want to go on and do other stuff without realizing what we have just done is something that is really significant. We tend to miss out on the true essence of Masonry for the watered down part of Masonry, and that is including the Order of the Eastern Star. I mean, yeah, it takes money to run these organizations. I can't deny that. But also in the process, you must be giving or teaching or breaking down some of the elements and some of the things about this great organization.
Right, I agree.
And that is, and to me, that's missed.
Right, but masonry is special, bro. And personally, I appreciate everything you do because you're consistent, you're constant with it. You know, and it for me, it keeps me on my square. Like I'm sitting in my living room just watching it. Like, oh, let me watch the brother. Yeah, he's right. You know. So everything you said is on point, man. Everything. So.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, you know, and this is why I often ask brothers, if you want to call into the show, and you know you have an open, you know, you can just do that, you and a few others, call into the show. I mean, don't just be in the chat line. Call in. Let's have that conversation. And most brothers are afraid to really have that conversation. And it's not that I know everything. But what I do know is the fact that if I don't know, I got to go find out for myself. And most people don't want to do it.
On point. Like, there was a segment where you were talking about being, in this show here, you were talking about being a creator. You know, and how most of us are scared to own up to that.
Right.
And masonry is all about that. To be a mason is to be a builder, is to be a creator. It's to embrace your God essence, your God nature, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in this episode, you touched upon the spirit of masonry in a very profound way. So.
Well, you know, I did that because, like I said before, I just did my own altar today, well, a couple of days ago. And I was explaining earlier that after I got done, I lit the candles, I lit the incense, and I prayed, and I looked at the pictures on the wall, and I felt such a presence. It was like, it was different. It was different for me because you have to experience that for yourself to understand exactly what I'm trying to break down, and you just do, you know. And so I have a space now for me. That when I want to go and have that conversation or commune with my ancestors or those who have gone before me, I can do that. I can go and bring them sacrifices. And when I say sacrifices, those are just bread or commune with them, just as people do with Christ per se on the first Sunday of every month. They go and they commune with Christ. That's what they do. And I can do the same thing with my ancestors.
Right.
And I know it sounds kind of crazy to some people, and some people are really going to get that. But this is the essence of who we are and what we was all about at one time in our journeys and in this world, but it's been so watered down till we've gotten scared of it. You know, and this is where we're at. A lot of us are afraid to talk to our ancestors, our moms, our dads, our aunts and uncles who are gone, you know. But you can't be afraid. They are the protectors. They're the one that give us that juice to move forward. You know, I remember growing up, they said, you know, when you go out the house, you know, your mom or your dad would say, remember who you are. Don't mess up the family name.
Well, yo, you just reminded me, like, you ever saw the movie The Lion King? Not the new one, the cartoon?
Yes.
Disney? You know how that's a remake of the Legend of Osiris, like, you know, that ancient Egyptian legend of Osiris.
Right.
How, you know, Osiris was killed by his brother, Set.
Uh-huh.
And then Horus, the son, he avenges his father and everything like that.
Right.
In that movie, that's what Mufasa, the father of Simba,
Uh-huh.
right? Mufasa represents Osiris. But he comes to Simba in the vision, right? In the heavens, and he says, remember who you are.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, remember who you are. Like, put yourself together, man. Bring your consciousness into the state of union.
Mm-hmm. So
everything is interconnected, bro.
So that's why.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, just to camelback on what the brother said was, that's exactly why Rafiki was the baboon, because in ancient Kemet, you know, Tahuti, or who they call Thoth, is always represented as an iblis bird or a baboon. He has two images. Most people bypass his baboon image, but yeah, the image that they use in the Lion King. I'm glad you said it, because a lot of people that fly over their heads, they don't see that.
Yeah, and he initiates Simba. You know what I mean? The same way that Tahuti initiates Horus.
Wow.
Into the mystery.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
By making him bump his head.
So I think Brother Alex Fitzgerald just tuned in. He said, are they discussing religious altars or Masonic or ancestry? We're discussing, that's the totality of the show. Altars.
Yeah,
An altar is an altar. So if you're talking Masonically, if you're talking Christian, that's what it is. And this is what we're talking about.
Like the way you use them, it depends on your organization. But anywhere you go and see an altar, it has the exact same function. You might not believe in what they doing, the way they doing it, but altars have the same function. That's why in the Bible it tells them to cut the body of the goat and to put the blood on all four corners of the altar and stuff like that. Like when people, you know, I think that they're scared to read the Old Testament because they'll realize how mystical it actually is and how rooted in what we perceive to be magic today. It actually, a lot of their traditions and rituals are.
Definitely. Yeah. Brother Hogan touched upon it throughout the show. Like, Freemasonry is essentially religious. We can't deny that. It is.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just like he said, though, our religion is a universal religion. It embraces all religion.
The ideal is that it, to me, it doesn't cower down. And when I say cower down, it is not saying that my Christ is better than your Allah, which is really the same thing. In essence, you just believing that Christ is God manifested in flesh. Now, and that's a whole nother story. That's for another day. that one right there. Anyway, so in Freemasonry, in order for it to actually work, you have to embrace another man's as he is. And I can say as she is, because we know that there are female Masons, and I know a lot of us don't like it, but it's just the fact of the matter. So,
I met one yesterday.
Say what now?
I met one yesterday.
You know, so we have to be able to understand this process because, as I've said, and I said it until I can't breathe no more, Freemasonry is bigger than where you at. And even if you tell me you don't recognize me, there's a whole nother set of Mason that does. So no matter where you go in this journey or on this journey in this world, Freemasons, they're everywhere. You just have to be able to search them out in a sense.
It's so crazy, Brother Hawkins. Like in New York, and it's like this in every state. But you'll drive, bro, it's nowhere that just on the highway, bro. You always run into a Mason, bro. Always.
Okay, so a sis, I think she just come online. She said, "I wish I knew what you guys was talking about, but I don't know." She says, "I don't know. I'm so interested in the things you guys are talking about. It keeps me up." Okay, sis, we're talking about the altar. That's what we're talking about tonight. You're the one that posted in my community where I post that sometimes in regards to the altar. And this is what we are talking about. Everyone should have an altar. Every individual, in my own opinion, should have an altar. And because of its significant meaning, and because of the significant meaning of an altar, you should have one. This is your commune, right? This is what it says in the Bible, right? You commune with God, right? You break the bread, which represents the body. You drink the wine, which represents the blood. It's a commune. You communicate with God when you do that. Now, my altar is for my ancestors. I communicate with them. When I go and I break bread at that altar, I communicate with them. That's me. That's mine. And I think that everybody should have an altar. You know, and your life is, to me, your life is an altar. You sacrificed a whole lot for other people in your life. Am I right? You know, we do that. You do it for your family. You don't, if you have $100 in your pocket and your family needs food, you go buy the food for your family. You sacrifice. So even in your life, even if you don't think you're making sacrifices, you are. They're just different types of sacrifices. But when you're talking about the altar of the Order of the Eastern Star and Freemasonry, it's on a higher frequency. This is why at the bottom of the altar of the Order of the Eastern Star, and the color of the 5 points of the star represents those chakra stones. But the sisters are too afraid to get into that.
And that's why that key is suspended on that other purposeful thing, like it's supposed to be, because you know when you look at the way that our life paths work, you know, the keys that's suspended on there is the key that we use to unlock ourselves. Mm-hmm. And us and living, walking, talking altars is very essential. What we place on our own altar, what we place in our body, and the things we place outside of our body. Again, it all matters. So the altar, from my perspective, from the things that I've been taught, as far as like even in Voodoo and Rosicrucianism, like altars do not, the function never changes. Like I said, some people might not like what other people do on that altar, but the function is always the same. It's like the brother said earlier, it's just a literal sacrifice, the thing of sacrifice. Like that's what you use an altar for.
So I think one of the brothers asked, who are you connecting with? I think that's what he meant. He says, then who are you connecting at the altar? Well, for me, I'm connecting to those who have gone before me. Those who blood and DNA runs through me, my ancestors, those who I've met and those who I had not yet seen or met. Those ancestors are who I connect with. Those who I believe are my protectors, my angels, my God. You know, those are who I connect with when I'm at my altar. You know, see, I never met Jesus. I've never met the man. I've been told about the man and the things that he did. I've read about him, but I've never met him. See, I met my father. I've seen his works. I've met my uncles, my aunts. I've seen their works. So I have that personal relationship with them. Just like you have your personal relationship with Christ or whoever you may feel that you connect with when you go to the altar at church. And I go to the mosque, I go to church, I do it all. Some people may say, well, you're confused, brother. No, I just understand it from a whole nother point of view. That's all.
Right. And that connection issue, it makes sense too, because even the word at the altar, we take our obligation. Right?
But check this out. And here's the uniqueness when we're at that altar taking these obligations. There are things we say we would and would not do. Right? Now, break that down and go back and see as a Christian the things that you say you would and would not do at the altar as a Christian. And I'm going to break this down to you. You take on those 10 commandments. That's your oath. That's your obligation. Am I right? As a Christian, that's your obligation.
Right.
Those 10 commandments. But if you get really deep, you will come to find that there are more commandments. You only get 10. And that's the uniqueness about doing your own research and finding out, hey, wait a minute. I got something that says it's 166 other commandments. Why you only pull out 10? You know, Moses came down with the tablets, and on there he said he had 10. I just think there was more, you know.
It was 600.
Read the Bible.
So, you know, there's so much more out there that we probably would never be able to grasp.
But it's interesting as far as the connection thing, because you see how Masonry emphasizes the word obligation, right?
Right.
Oath. Like we use the word oath, but the proper word is obligation. Right?
Mm-hmm.
In Latin, it's obligare, which means to bind, to connect. That's what obligation literally means, to connect, to bind. To bind. Somebody just mentioned that, like, connecting to what? Like Brother Manly P. Hall said in the Lost Keys of Freemason, a true Mason recognizes that all life forms or all creatures are just one life force, interconnected. Everything is interconnected.
It is. So, and that was the unique thing with Manly P. Hall. See, even before Manly P. Hall was a Mason, he was breaking down Masonic stuff and people just couldn't believe it. They couldn't even grasp it. And and I don't think he was necessarily initiated like the regular initiates in Freemasonry. I don't think he was.
You have esoteric Masons for the longest. It's like you have Rosicrucians who understand Masonry better than the average cat who claims he's a Mason. Yeah, he just came into mainstream Masonry in his 50s or so. But Manly P. Hall was already dealing with Masonry from his early 20s.
Yep, absolutely.
Just wasn't mainstream. But like you said also, he says in the book Lost Keys of Freemasonry, a true Mason bows at every altar, whether mosque, temple, shrine. He breaks all of that down.
Yeah, Manly P. Hall was a real essential, groundbreaking author for a lot of the Western esoteric forms, especially if you ever get a chance to go to Amrock, because you down there, Elder Tony. If you ever get a chance to go down there to Amrock, you'll see all the Masons that were known as Rosicrucians in their time. That were known as Rosicrucians, but like we always say, that Masonry dwarfs Rosicrucianism, meaning it's so much larger than the body of Rosicrucianism that instead of trying to, I don't even like to use the word compete because it's not a competition, but instead of trying to, I guess, rival Freemasonry as far as like the structure and the system and stuff like that, they did. That's why, like, my particular Rosicrucian branch doesn't really agree with Amrock, because it's the Rosicrucian branch of Amrock that ties into Freemasonry. Yeah, so they did, like, the branch that I use completely separates itself from Freemasonry.
But the essence is the same.
Yeah,
like you look at the Rosicrucian manifestos.
Yeah,
with like CRC, the whole legend of Rosicrucianism is based upon CRC. And you're resurrected. The whole object is to resurrect the God in yourself. Just like we do in Masonry with Hiram Abiff. Two systems are connected. Period.
Yeah, like I agree with that. I just noticed like just like Masons don't want to be like called Rosicrucians by people who aren't aware that there is a difference. Or Oddfellow. Like I got brothers that are Oddfellows. They got triangular aprons in some of their lodges, and when other people meet them, they automatically say, "Oh, widow's son." And, the person be like, "No, I'm an Oddfellow." They be like, "But you got on an apron." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm not a Mason." Like these are things that I had to learn once I started. Just rubbing shoulders. Being in Chicago, we got a very diverse mystical community. So we get a lot of different initiatives from a lot of different crafts.
Right.
They share not information, obviously valued information, but they try to share the similarities between structure.
The essence is the same. It's just like with the apron. If you're a Mason for real, all of this goes back to Egypt. It's the same thing that the Rosicrucians teach.
Mm-hmm.
It all goes back to Egypt. This is what the wise master builders did. They wore aprons.
Mm.
It gets deep. It's like you'll see in the Bible in Matthew chapter 19, verse 11. Jesus Christ, the character, he says, there are those who are eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. Right? In a literal sense, a eunuch is a man who has his balls cut off. So he can subdue his passion.
Wow, I didn't. Go ahead.
We wear the apron over our sexual organs, correct?
We do.
As Mason. And it's to teach us what is the strongest passion in man.
Yeah, bro, that is some strong passion.
So as Masons, we're to learn how to sublimate our sexual energy to raise the kundalini to bring it to a higher level.
Mm.
We don't wear the apron just to wear it because it's fashionable. We talk about this, Brother Hawkins, like the European stonemasons, they didn't wear aprons, bro. You won't see them. If you go to a masonry site today, like with operative quote-unquote mason, they don't wear aprons, bro, to lay stone and brick. They don't.
Well, we know that if you're truly looking at masonry and saying that it comes from the Stone Ages, no, they did not wear aprons at all.
Yeah, that's a myth.
It is a myth.
And
and the idea that stonemasons are connected to masonry is a myth. Nobody really knows this thing that we call Freemasonry, how it arrived to where it's at today, except from what we know as far as 1717 or 1728, whatever you want to pick. The ideal is that what we do know is the essence of the craft is of African ancestry.
Yeah, even if we study Kemet, like I was talking about a few months ago, I was talking about Ptahhotep, the ancient Egyptian philosopher. Yeah, he lived 3000 BC more or less. This is way before the Greek philosophers. This is a long time ago, 3000 BC, right?
Uh-huh.
We're talking about 5,000 years ago, bro. There's a book. His book exists, what he wrote in Egypt. It's titled The Maxims of Ptahhotep. That's what the English translations title it at.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read that book, he used Masonic symbolism throughout the book. He talks about your conduct being as straight as a plumb line.
Mm.
It's a number of maxims he has in there that you say, oh yeah, that's Freemason. 5,000 years ago.
Wow.
Ptahhotep. Yeah, the Egyptians, let's be serious, bro.
So
who could excel the Egyptians in building? Not just literally, but even philosophically. So you see the same concept in Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism. The Rosicrucians say, yeah, Rosicrucianism goes back to Egypt. You have to take that symbolically in the sense that the philosophy goes back to Egypt.
Exactly, not the actual craft itself.
Yeah, because the name is going to change. The name of the organization is going to change. And you see the same thing in Freemasonry in the West. Like if you look at Thomas Smith Webb's Masonic Monitor, which is what the mainstream uses in America. Right?
Right.
If you Thomas Smith Webb. If you remember the Boston Convention, like in Masonic history in America, that Masonic monitor by Thomas Smith Webb was the standardization of Masonic ritual in America for the mainstream. If you read that book, he tells you in there that Masonry is synonymous with the philosophy of ancient Egypt.
Yeah, and that's important because
you can't miss it if you study.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Ptahhotep fifth dynasty. You know what I'm saying? Merk Imran Ra, he do a good lecture on him, as well as Dr. Chancellor Williams and Kundisi. They always very good. And Baba Heru as well. He goes super in on Ptahhotep.
Right.
That's why he starts doing his jewelry and stuff like that.
So I'm reading this comment by brother Alex Fitzgerald. He said, Hawkins, you mean white people cannot prove Freemasonry is a creation of ancient Africa science? I couldn't do them a laugh at that one, bro. You got me with that one. I didn't see that one coming. And to the sister who just posted, she says that a stone also means a pit or a seed of a fruit. That's a new one on me.
Right.
I don't mind saying that. I'm new to that one. Can you,
brothers? Sister left that comment before. It's like when they were alchemy, right? Alchemy is very similar to Freemasonry. A lot of the early Freemasons were alchemy.
Alchemists, pure
alchemists. The word stone in Old English, you could Google it. One of the it's not the main meaning, but one of the meanings of the word stone is a seed, like a seed of a fruit, a seed of a plant, and you can refer that to symbolism of the philosopher's stone.
So in saying that, maybe, just maybe, instead of saying stonemasons, we're using that word stone in an incorrect way when we look at Freemasonry, instead of saying a seed, a knowledge.
I mean, it could be used. Look, it could be used both ways. It's like if you take the word stone in ancient Hebrew, right? That's used in the Bible. The word is eben. Like we spoke about this before. In Hebrew, the word eben is the word for stone. It's composed of 3 letters. Aleph, Bet, Nun, right? Aleph, Bet, the first 2 letters of the word stone in Hebrew, spell Ab in Hebrew, which means father. If you take if you take Bet and Nun, right, the second letter and the last letter in the word stone in Hebrew, it spells son. Ab is father, Ben is son. So in Hebrew, the word stone itself combines the 2, father and son. And you'll see that with the story of Jesus Christ and Peter, right? Where he said, me and the Father are one. Yes. I'm the stone who the builders rejected. And then there's a mason, the stone represents your essential nature, which is God. You recognize that the Father and the Son, right? The seed represents the Son or the offspring. You understand that you are one with the Creator.
Wow.
This is what Masonry is about. You're not separate.
Yeah, you're not.
This is heresy to the masses.
Man, y'all breaking down some good stuff tonight.
Yeah, this is why you see, like, when we go through the 3rd degree, bro, it's very profound. It's not going to be profound to a person who's unworthy of being raised. But a person who's worthy of being raised is very profound. You are raised, right? The imitation of the greatest nation who ever lived. That's symbolic.
So
right?
You are correct. So we've been on here for about an hour and 49 minutes, and I know people be like, man, keep it going. No, sometimes you gotta kind of, keep it where you can keep it at. So look, before we shut it down tonight, what words, what encouraging thing that you want to leave Illuminated Light, Freemason Unlocked, what encouraging words do you want to leave to an individual who is seeking, who may be looking at building or shaping or having their own altar?
I would say just move towards what your heart is in that place. Follow it. Watch John D. Jones research. The wisdom is good. And study. That's it. Just move towards masonry is a search for light. We don't have to be vague about this. In essence, masonry is a search for God. That's what it is. However you conceive of God, there's some creator to this universe. There's some creative principle. As humans, we all have that in us. We do. Either you're going to be swallowed up by what the masses are doing, or you're going to follow what your heart tells you. As far as that aspect. Search for God. Search for the light. And when you search for it and you take that journey, that's what masonry is about. And you're going to find in the end, not that the journey literally ends, but you're going to find that what you seek is one with you. In other words, you and God are the same. There's no difference. So you need to search for that. Take that journey. Do it. It may take you years. It may take you months. You may never reach it. Follow that, and that's what masonry is about. So, like with this channel, watch it. You get good wisdom from it. And when you're ready, you know?
That's true. It. That's true. So, Brother King Musa, hit me out. What you got for me, baby?
You know, he said it all, man. You know, just continue to look, you know, for more light. Just seek more light, man. And always remember that you can always learn something new and you can always remain teachable. That's my whole thing. Remain teachable. You know what I'm saying? You know, sometimes you got to take, you know, the wax out your ears and put them in your mouth and listen. For real. So, yeah, that's why when the Brother Freemasonry Unlocked speak, I just sit back and not chill because, you know, I feel in a lot of areas he has a lot of information I do not have. I don't have a problem saying it. So I listen. I take heed to a lot of stuff to say. I watch his channel. He be on point. So, you know, I got a lot of respect for Freemasonry Unlocked.
Well, he going to have me on his channel one day. I'm just waiting for my phone call.
And I'm about to come to California this year, bro. I'm going to be out there, man.
All right. So, look, I know we've covered a lot. Tonight's subject was basically dealing with that altar, not only as an individual, but, you know, as a commune or communication piece with our ancestors. And looking at the altar, and no matter what fraternal order you're part of, you're going to always find an altar, because it's that connection that you find there with those brothers, with those sisters. And I would say this before I go, to the sisters of the Order of the Eastern Star, you who carry the chakras that are at the at the foot of the altar, and those pointed stars, those different colors represents the chakras. I want you to consider going and researching the chakras and what it means to you as a member of the order. And there you will find something that's going to enlighten you. So with that being said, I want to appreciate Freemasonry Unlocked, aka Illuminating Light, my guy, my man, for coming on tonight. And also King Musa, I say I appreciate you. I also check your show out. I'm waiting for my call to be on your show too. So check them out. And we gonna keep on keeping on. So I hope everyone has gotten some out of this show. And as always, to everybody, whatever you do, please, and that's including me too, stay out them damn bushes and keep your light on.
Love y'all, bro.
I'm out, bro. I appreciate you. Thank you. Peace.
Peace.
Oh man, I think I'm still hanging on tight.